Hey everyone. Today let's talk about Bernie Sanders. We live in a pretty unique time, and if you're Bernie Sanders, you just struck the lottery. Because imagine it, you're a senator nearing the end of his political career. You are on the extreme left side of the Democratic Party, and you've been kind of an outcast, or at least on the fringes of your party for your entire tenure as a senator. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but I'm going to go with it. So then you decide to run for president, and there should be no real chance for you to win. But as luck would have it, the leading candidate, a Clinton, somebody with massive amounts of power and influence and a devoted base, is massively and continually bogged down in controversy. Hilary Clinton is so corrupt and so inept and so power hungry that there could probably be a significant corruption leak every week between now and the election, and there'd still be plenty of material to dig up on Hilary Clinton. But so, yeah, Bernie Sanders is now in a unique position, and he's been thrust to kind of the forefront of the Democratic Party, the candidates trying to get the nomination to run for president. So let's talk about Bernie for a little bit. I have 3 points for why we should be skeptical of Bernie Sanders. And the first point is, he is not anti-war. One of the real tragedies of the Democratic Party and the left in general is the disappearance of the anti-war crowd once President Obama took office. And Bernie Sanders, despite being the quintessential leftist, is not anti-war. He has a voting record, and we can go back and take a look at it, and he has supported a lot of the overseas adventurism that the United States has taken part in. And even recently, President Obama, who promised to pull troops out of Afghanistan before his end of his presidency, has now decided to punt the ball, and he's going to keep 5 or 10,000 troops in Afghanistan until 2017, 2018, till however long, who knows. It's outside of his wheelhouse now. He's pushed it. He's kicked the can down to the next presidential candidate. And Bernie Sanders has agreed with him. He has come out in agreement with President Obama keeping the troops there. And so, as a whole, Bernie Sanders is not anti-war. And any good red-blooded American leftist or Democrat voter should take that into account. 2, Bernie Sanders has not met a spending program that he didn't like. And to tie that into the first point, even military wars, it seems he's still a fan of those. That is a spending program he would not cut. His budget, I think it was the Washington Post, came out and said that his budget would cost $18 trillion in, I forget what the time frame was. I think it was like 10 years. That's pretty incredible. 18 trillion. That's about the national debt we have right now. The national debt's about at 18 trillion. And we already spend 500 billion over what the federal government takes in taxes every year. So while the left may have a lot of programs that they want to fund and a lot of people they want to help, and we can argue about whether or not taking that money from other people to give to other people is moral or not, you really need to be able to face the fact of what is realistically achievable. Like, how much money can we really spend on these programs? Because as of right now, the programs are going to go bankrupt in 20 years, give or take. Social Security is not insolvent in the long run. Like Medicare and Medicaid bleed billions of dollars in fraud every year. A lot of this stuff just isn't sustainable, even if the intentions are supposed to be good. You just can't fuel unrealistic intentions with endless amounts of money. Finally, point 3 is not necessarily about Bernie, but about all other politicians. So Bernie Sanders is, a democratic socialist? That's the term he uses. In reality, he's an authoritarian. And he wants him and other politicians in the government to decide how all of us live, even though he focuses mainly on the rich and corporations and, people other than the middle class and the poor. But he's an authoritarian. And now, let's say he is a saint. He is uncorruptible. Unlike all other politicians, he cannot be bought and paid for by special interests or corporations or the rich or the 1%, whatever terms you want to use. But that doesn't stop the fact that if he gets into government and he enacts all the policies that he wants, it's not going to be just him running these policies and these programs. It's going to be other politicians. And so even if he is immaculate and he is above reproach, nobody else is. He would be the exception. And so all this power that is centralized will now be a new, huge, gigantic honeypot for the rich and the corporations to buy and basically legislate via the politicians that are in their pocket. So it's a really, you could call libertarians and anarcho-capitalists and voluntarists utopian. And, okay, that's another subject, but I can see it for the most part, but there are reasons that I think that's not exactly a great criticism of that side. But to believe that Bernie Sanders would first consolidate all this extra power and money into the government, and then he would be able to control all the other politicians from selling off all that blood and money and power to the highest bidder, that is utopianism, and that is completely off the charts. Because we all know, and many on the left and the people who do support Bernie Sanders say that politicians are bought and paid for by corporations. And believing that you're going to vote in Bernie Sanders, consolidate that power, and it's not going to be bought, that is a thought that I think they need to consider very deeply before they continue supporting and pushing for Bernie Sanders. And of course, just to even the playing field, same thing goes for Republicans. I am no fan of the Republicans, and if anything else, I dislike them more because they should know better. All right, that's all I got. Thanks for listening.